Welcome everyone to the Intentional Career Podcast, the podcast where we focus on giving you hints, tips, real life stories that help you take ownership of your career. Here's the thing, everyone. Your career is one of the biggest ways you're ever going to make money. A lot of people are into entrepreneurship, and this is amazing. But not everyone is going to make it as an entrepreneur. Some of us will make it, some of us won't. But having a career is one of the best ways you can actually build up wealth in your life. And to a certain degree, even being an entrepreneur is a type of career. Career simply means what you do to earn a living. Although we've come to kind of start to link that up with 9 to 5. But we won't go into that in today. That's a discussion for another day. So here's a story I want to tell everyone. I remember many moons ago, I was working as a consultant, or call it as a contractor. And they decided not to renew my contract. It was about 6 months. Every 6 months, it was a contract. And the contract came to an end. And as the contract was coming to an end, I asked the lady who was my manager at the time, I said, could you tell me what's the one thing, the one feedback you'd give me? And that was a time when you could argue I was probably a lot less sensitive about feedback. I was more open to it. And that's another thing you'll realize. The older we get, the more grumpy we become, and we don't want to hear our flaws. So then I was really, really open. I was like, tell me my feedback. What am I doing? What I could do better? And she said, Femi, if there's one thing I can tell you, it is this. When you are in meetings, sometimes you want to share a thought, you want to give a suggestion, you want to say something, and you'll say it well, articulate it quite well, and somebody pushes back on you. And the moment they push back on you, you just go back, you recoil into a corner, and you don't see anything. Now, I've coached a lot of people, and this is a feedback that is probably not unique to me. And if you're a certain demographic, if you're like a minority, if you're black, if you've traveled from a different country to move to UK, Canada, America, and there's so many other dynamics, cultural background that play a part in your ability to be assertive in the workplace, which you don't feel completely confident, this feedback will resonate with you. So I took that feedback and I've reflected on it. And that brings me to today, which is I want to share with you how to build confidence in your career journey. You see, one of the biggest things, and we say this all the time, is you'll be in a meeting and you will just hear someone who you know almost certainly is not as experienced as you, is not as intelligent as you, hasn't got as much experience as you. And for the most part, a lot of sometimes it's either because they are a bit more articulate than you, or they're probably part of the majority, so they feel more like they belong. And there's a big thing that usually is the real reason why these people are able to blag their way, and in some people they use the word bugar their way out of it. And it's this: confidence, swag, being able to just say stuff that even sometimes if it doesn't make sense, the confidence with which you say it projects like you know what you're talking about, and everyone's just going to gravitate towards you and listen to what you have to say. So I want to share some tips with you this week around confidence. So the topic, if you want a topic for this week, is really about building confidence into your career journey. And here's the thing. Confidence is key to navigating your career path successfully and authentically. You have to get to a place where you have confidence, but number one, it's not fake confidence. It's genuine, real confidence rooted in something strong and real. And second, it's really about navigating your career, building your career, taking your career from wherever you are today to the place you want it to be is going to take confidence. And there's something someone once told me: if you cannot blow your own trumpet, if you cannot boost yourself, if you cannot big up yourself, nobody's going to do it for you. Sure, they might do it for you up to a certain point, and they might say, Femi's a good guy, he knows what he's doing. But when it comes down to it, they're not going to stake their career on you. You have to do it yourself. So confidence is really important into how you build your career. So I'm going to share 3 really quick tips. And here's a quick one. I'm going to say, if you like some of the things I'm sharing, click on my profile, sign up for my newsletter, and get regular content where I go deeper into these topics about how you can build your confidence, how you can navigate your career, and how you can really intentionally build your career to where you maximize your knowledge, your training, your experience, and earn the most you should. Because what's a career for if it's not about earning? It's about having the best life but earning the most money from your career. So 3 things I'm going to share with you about how you could build confidence into your career journey. Number 1, identify your strengths. Recognize your unique strengths and talents. And there's a lot of ways you can do this, but one of the best things you could do is look back on your career. What were the times when you just enjoyed what you were doing? Where when you spoke with a knowledge that came from, I've done this before. And don't say you don't have it. We all have periods in our career where it was just, we were in flow. Flow is that thing we talk about in life where you're in the zone. If you're into sports, you can hear people talk about when a tennis player or an athlete, they're in the zone. They're just doing things naturally, or they're saying things about something they're passionate about. What are the areas that you're passionate about? For me, one of the things is stakeholder management, communication. I absolutely love communicating, written, verbal, which is why I podcast. So in the workplace, when I'm communicating ideas to people, I absolutely love it. So number 1 is identify your strengths. What are your strengths? Are the things that you know you're good at. If you're an accountant, if it's your analysis, if it's about a particular product, just look back over the past 1 to 5, 10 years of your career and identify what are the areas where you know I was good at that. I enjoyed doing that. Secondly, you have to learn to overcome self-doubt and challenge negative self-talk. And one of the things is, in one of my other podcasts, in the You Unleashed podcast, there was an episode that we had. And in that episode, one of the guests, and it'll come back to me, one of what she said was this really, is even if you're in a meeting and someone challenges you, rather than just say something just to respond and you find out you say the wrong thing, say, if you're not sure, I'll come back to you on that, and take time to reflect and find out the answer. But ultimately, you have to overcome self-doubt. And one of the ways to overcome self-doubt is take an inventory of all your successes, your wins. You will be amazed at the number of things you've done that you've done well and you were successful. If you're not sure, ask people, what are the things I do well? Go through your emails. Look at emails people have sent where people have gone, Femi, good job. Femi, nice idea. Femi, I like that. Just go through all your jobs. And one of the ways to do this is look at your CV. Look at your resume, your CV from day 1. And look at all the jobs you've done. And each of those jobs, think back on 3 major projects you've done on that job. And those 3 major projects, ask yourself, what role did I play in this project? And when you're thinking about the role you played, think about what was that project meant to deliver. And when you think about what that project was meant to deliver, you can also then think about what role you played in it. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too little. You played a part in achieving the bigger project. You don't have to be the one who did everything. You just need to know you played a part. So that is your part. So if I'm looking at myself, I might look at a big project I was part of, and I was involved in making sure all the people knew about the project. They bought into it. They were aware of what the project was delivering, and they were excited about it coming. That's one of the things I do as a change consultant in my other life. So that's something I can look back and go, yeah, you know what? I played a part in that. So look back in the little things. No success is too little. Look at those things and just list them out and use them as a reminder. Put them by your wall somewhere as a crib sheet or somewhere to just go, I remember I played a part in achieving these, okay? So that's it. And then the third thing you need to do is take action. Step out of your comfort zone and take risks to build confidence. Always, whenever you're in a meeting, whenever you're in a place where you think you're uncomfortable, speak up, take a step, do something. But also, here's a big hack I'm going to give you. Anytime you achieve something moving forward, always send an email to just say, I'm just happy to let you know we have completed this. And one of the things I did as part of this was da-da-da. People think it pays to be humble in the workplace. Yes, nobody likes anyone being arrogant, but you absolutely have to be self-confident, and you absolutely have to let the people who are responsible for evaluating you, paying you, and letting them know that you've been successful. Pointing out regularly, I've done this, I've achieved that. And you know what? Remind yourself that you achieved this, that you made it happen. And that's one way to build confidence. So I've given you 3 tips to do. Is number 1, identify your strengths. Number 2, overcome self-doubt by listing out all your successes. And number 3, regularly stretch yourself. The key to increasing your confidence is stepping out of your comfort zone. And you don't have to step out massively. Just do a little bit more than you did the day before. All right. So we're coming quickly to the end of this week's podcast. So here are the key 3 takeaway actions I'd like to give you. Number 1, keep a success journal to document your achievements and positive feedback. Anytime anyone sends you an email that says you've done something great, write it. And here's another thing you can do. Use LinkedIn. When anyone sends you these emails, send them, would it be okay if I send you a LinkedIn recommendation so you can write a recommendation for me on LinkedIn? What you're doing there is you're letting other people know that what you've done is social proof. You're letting other people know that you've done a good job. And the best way to do this is favor for a favor. If they write one for you, just write in your email, I would also be happy as well to write a recommendation for you. And you're less concerned about them, it's more that they write for you. And the more you get people to build up your recommendations, the more your profile and your brand grows, okay? So keep a journal and keep positive feedback. Number 2, set achievable goals that stretch your capabilities and celebrate your success along the way. You don't have to do anything massive. There's this in Atomic Habits, it talks about just doing 0.01 better every day. You don't have to do much, just do a little bit better than you did before and commit to it. So if you do that, that stretches you. So just say, I'm going to do something different I did today. So if you go into meetings, make sure at least in one meeting every week or in one meeting every day, you suggest a good idea or you take on an action that you wouldn't normally do. And when they say, who's going to take this action? Say, I'll take it. It seems like a little thing, but what you're doing is you're putting yourself out there and you're building your reputation. And if you do that every time. And celebrate as progress. You don't always have to let everyone know, but when it's Friday, look back and go, you know what? I volunteered for this action, I delivered. Look back, pat yourself on the back, buy yourself a nice drink, do something to celebrate. It's for you because success and confidence is an inside job. As much as having people validate you is important, there's nothing quite like looking back on yourself and going, you know what? I did this. I did a good job. And lastly, here's the last one I'd like to share with you is practice self-compassion and remind yourself of your worth. And this is where I need you to forgive yourself and sometimes look back on yourself and go, you know what? I didn't have a good week. I didn't do a great job. It didn't go as well as I did. But you know what? I put myself out there. I challenged myself. I stretched myself. I tried to do more than I did. And even what you need to realize is you can't, even when you fail, you win. Because even you didn't achieve that success sometimes, you stretched yourself and you put yourself out there. You were the one that tested yourself. And the next time, do it again and again, and you'll become more comfortable with failure. Because the more you become comfortable with failure, the more your success comes your way. And that way you build your self-confidence. I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast on how to build self-confidence and the tips I've given you. Please subscribe to my podcast. Please leave some positive feedback on anywhere you've listened to this, but also recommend us to your friends and sign up for my newsletter by clicking on my profile if you're looking at this on Instagram or any of social media. And if you're listening to it via your usual podcast platform, check the description, sign up for my newsletter and get regular updates, regular tips, tool sheets, and welcome to events where I dig deeper in how to build your career and maximize your knowledge, your experience, and ultimately your earnings. Intentional career, be authentic, smash it, and have a great week.